So, before we get underway with more talks here in Haven, I should also let you guys know, because you'll probably notice, I have a new weapon. This is part of the advantage of the mods I have, is taking advantage of what I've got, which is, of course, all the different recipes and resources. This is a new staff I made, which stat-wise was definitely better than what I was currently using. It's not the best possible staff I can make right now, because there are ones that stat-wise can definitely do more DPS and such, plus it doesn't have a rune. I guess I should have renamed those parts. That just looks really, very, very silly. I don't know why it says that on those parts there, but yeah, because a number of resources I had, I was able to get like almost 1,000 of some resources. It allows me to really just have a lot more versatility and freedom to craft better stuff. Not armor yet, but I was able to craft a better weapon, so we'll see how that goes. And once I get more crafting resources, I'll definitely be able to make some better armor. So anyways, let's talk to Cullen.
You there. There's a shield in your hand. Block with it. If this man were your enemy, you'd be dead. Lieutenant, don't hold back. The recruits must prepare for a real fight, not a practice one.
Yes, Commander.
We've received a number of recruits. Locals from Haven and some pilgrims. None made quite the entrance you did.
That wasn't my idea.
I'd be concerned if it was. I was recruited to the Inquisition in Kirkwall myself. I was there during the Mage Uprising. I saw firsthand the devastation it caused.
Sir.
Cassandra sought a solution. When she offered me a position, I left the Templars to join her cause. Now it seems we face something far worse.
You left the Templars for this. You believe the Inquisition can work?
I do. The Chantry lost control of both Templars and Mages. Now they argue over a new divine while the breach remains. The Inquisition could act when the Chantry cannot. Our followers would be part of that. There's so much we can... Forgive me. I doubt you came here for a lecture.
No, but if you have one prepared, I'd love to hear it.
Another time, perhaps. There's still a lot of work ahead.
Commander, Sir Ryden has a report on our supply lines.
As I was saying. Was there something you needed?
Is there anything I should know?
The Lord Seeker's actions are a mystery, but the Templars will aid us. They cannot sit idle while the breach remains.
I'd like to know more about the Templars.
If you need insight into what the Order is doing now, I'm afraid I can't offer more than you already know. Anything else, I will answer as best I can.
Do the Templars do anything besides hunt mages?
Templars protect against the dangers of magic. Before the Order left the Chantry, that meant serving in a circle. They were also tasked with tracking apostates, or fighting demons inevitably summoned by the weak or malicious.
What do you think of mages? Are they all a threat?
I've seen the suffering magic can inflict. I've treated mages with distrust because of it, at times without cause. That was unworthy of me. I will try not to do so here. Not that I want mages moving through our base completely unchecked. We need safeguards in place to protect people, including mages, from possession at the least.
Why did you join the Order?
I could think of no better calling than to protect those in need. I used to beg the Templars as our local Chantry to teach me. At first, they merely humored me. I must have shown promise, or at least a willingness to learn. The Knight Captain spoke to my parents on my behalf. They agreed to send me for training. I was 13 when I left home.
13? That's still so young.
I wasn't the youngest there. Some children are promised to the Order at infancy. Still, I didn't take on full responsibilities until I was 18. The Order sees you trained and educated first.
What about your family? Did you miss them?
Of course, but there were many my age who felt the same. We learned to look out for one another.
You've lived in the Circle. What was a typical day for a Templar there?
Typical. The last time I was in a circle was right before it fell apart. Nothing was typical.
Before that, then?
Certain rituals require a full guard. A mage's harrowing, for instance. I've attended a few. Most of the time, you merely maintain a presence, on patrol or in the circle, ready to respond if needed. Mages pretend to ignore that presence, but they're watching you just as closely.
Just as a reminder, the dialogue will be a little different if your warden from Origins was a mage, because he obviously was there, attending that. He will especially say something if your mage warden was a female.
Do Templars and mages never speak to each other?
Some do, but Templars are supposed to maintain a certain distance from their charges. If a mage is possessed or uses blood magic, you must act quickly, without hesitation. Your judgment cannot be clouded. Of course, ignoring one another does nothing to foster understanding.
What does Templar training involve?
There is weapon and combat training. Even without their abilities, Templars are among the best warriors in Thedas. Initiates must also memorize portions of the Chant of Light, study history, and improve their mental focus.
Did you enjoy your training?
I wanted to learn everything. If I was giving my life to this, I would be the best Templar I could.
You were a model student.
I wanted to be. I wasn't always successful. Watching a candle burn down while reciting the Chant of Transfigurations wasn't the most exciting task. I admit, my mind sometimes wandered.
Do Templars take vows? I swear to the Maker to watch all the mages, that sort of thing?
There's a vigil first. You're meant to be at peace during that time, but your life is about to change. When it's over, you give yourself to a life of service. That's when you're given a filter, your first draft of lyrium and its power. As Templars, we are not to seek wealth or acknowledgement. Our lives belong to the Maker and the path we have chosen.
A life of service and sacrifice. Are Templars also expected to give up physical temptations?
Physical? Why... why would you... That's not expected. Templars can marry, although there are rules around it, and the Order must grant permission. Some may choose to give up more to prove their devotion, but it's not required.
Have you?
Me? No. I've taken no such vows. Maker's breath. Can we speak of something else?
I just love that he just gets so, like, embarrassed by this whole line of questioning. It's one of those moments that I just found very just appealing about this. Just seeing that little, just like, can we talk about something else, please?
That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
I'm sure you have other matters to attend. Did you need something?
Why would Templars break away from the Chantry?
The Order believes the Chantry no longer supports their efforts. Not to the extent they should.
The Templars have served the Chantry for ages.
And in that time, they've come to take the Order's services for granted. Templars risk their lives against blood magic, demons, abominations, to feel as if those efforts are dismissed. I may disagree with the Order's actions, but I'm here as proof of that. But I sympathize with their frustrations.
What do you think of the people you work with?
Who do you mean?
How do you like working with Liliana?
The Inquisition would not exist without her. I may not always agree with her methods, but she's more passionate about our cause than anyone. Cassandra may have declared the Inquisition publicly, but Liliana is just as responsible for its formation.
Are you satisfied with the Inquisition's forces?
Our numbers are small, but they suit our needs for the time being. Some Templars have joined us instead of following the Order. They've proven invaluable in training new recruits.
What do you think of our ambassador?
We have little in common. How she delights in meeting with nobles all day is beyond me. But I enjoy working with her.
I should let you get back to work.
Was there something you needed?
I should get to know you better. We're working together, after all.
What would you like to know?
All right. Where are you from?
I grew up in Ferelden, near Honleath. I was transferred to Kirkwall shortly after the Blight. This is the first I've returned in almost 10 years.
I don't know why that popped up there. I don't remember that happening before.
Varric's from Kirkwall. Did you two know each other?
I knew he was friends with the champion of Kirkwall, but little else. We've spoken more since I joined the Inquisition, largely at Varric's insistence. Apparently, I spend too much time with a serious expression on my face, and it's bad for my health.
Yeah, that sounds like Varric.
You haven't seen Ferelden in 10 years. Are you glad to be back?
I was not sorry to leave at the time. I did not expect to return. Now, between the Divine's murder and the breach, I've arrived to find nothing but chaos.
You were in Ferelden during the Blight. Did you fight Darkspawn?
No. I was stationed at Ferelden's Circle Tower. The Circle had troubles of its own. I remained there during the Blight.
What happened at the Circle Tower?
Few who survived the Blight have fond memories of that time. I would prefer not to speak of it.
What was Kirkwall like?
While I was there, Canary occupied and then attacked the city. The Viscount's murder caused political unrest. Relations between mages and Templars fell apart. An apostate blew up the Chantry, and the Knight Commander went mad. Other than that, it was fine.
Yeah, other than that.
What happened between Kirkwall's mages and Templars?
You were at the Conclave. You must have heard people speak of it.
Yes, but you were there.
There was tension between mages and Templars long before I arrived. Eventually, it reached a breaking point. There was fighting in the streets. Abominations began killing both sides. It was a nightmare.
What happened then?
The Templars should have restored order, but Red Lyrium had driven Knight Commander Meredith mad. She threatened to kill Kirkwall's champion, turned on her own men. I'm not sure how far she would have gone. Too far.
So you opposed her?
I stood with the champion against her, in the end. I should have seen through Meredith sooner.
I'll let you return to your work.
I'm sure you have other matters to attend.
We'll talk more with Cullen later. Oh. The game was like, give me a moment. Alright, let's go talk to Sera.
Speak only the word. Sing
Researcher Minave wishes to use some inexpensive spirits. She wishes to light creatures' corpse on fire to determine whether it is specifically vulnerable to heat.
Oh,
All right.
So, this is it, huh? Oh, no, it's fine, yeah? It's just, I thought it'd be bigger. That would have been hilarious if you were a man, right? Wasted. Anyway, stopping wars should earn more sovereigns than this. Need things back to normal for coins to be flowing again. Another reason the Templars and mages need to be sat down.
I'm pretty sure the Conclave proved it's not that easy.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't.
Why? Because someone yelled it real loud. Make them prove it. They're too busy to look up where the real questions are.
Is there something else you're looking for? Like what's behind all this?
Maybe. I don't know. First things first, right? I help you, march, arrow, kick. Then people stop being stupid, and everything starts to make sense again. Sound good to you? All touched, Lady Herald?
As long as the job gets done, I don't care about the rest.
Fact. Spare the frills, just get it all back to normal. Best plan I've heard. Only plan I've heard, really. Everyone up their own arses. Let's get things done. Chasing the Lord Seeker, I hear. Anyone who thinks they need Lord in front of the name, that's bad. Bet he's got a portrait taller than he is. That's your first clue to a total arse. Fact.
By the way, you can kick her out anytime you want. Seriously.
What do you think about the people who have gathered?
Which, the ones who do things or the ones who give orders?
Thoughts about Cassandra?
Not as buttoned up as she plays, right? Tough, though. I'd stand behind her in front of anything.
Anything to say about Varric?
Varric? Too clever. Always saying something, but never saying it straight.
What about Solus?
Solus? His head's crammed up 1,000 years ago.
What's your opinion of Vivienne?
She's a bitch, but she knows. She better.
What do you think about our spy master, ambassador, and commander?
Liliana is pretty in places. Swear I've seen her too. Or heard she used to play. But that'd be mad. Now Josephine, she's as good at humbling her kind as I am. Just with less mess. Knows her business, if you have to have it. And Cullen, I suppose if you want a jackboot, you get a big one so you can grow into it. Nice hair, though.
We'll talk later.
Good, right? I'll be here. Chasing mages, that's a Templar's job. A big, armored, pissed-off helm polisher. Not too late to go find some. Or stay home.
Is the Inquisition what you thought it would be?
Calling an Inquisition is a bit much, isn't it? Does this lot even know what they're chasing? Fair question for me as well, I suppose. Everybody following a rumor. At least I'm used to that.
You apparently have a lot of friends. Tell me about your network.
It's not mine, right? I mean, it is, but it's also everyone. Everyone who wants to shove it to nobles who hide behind gold and silk. And hats, I guess.
Where are the people you promised?
If I knew, they wouldn't be much use. That's sort of the point. Look, unless your baddies are rocks or trees, they have people they use. Cooks, squires, wipers. Yeah, I know, wipers, right? You better believe the one with wipers deserve it, right in the... Well, anyway. The little people will be there when you need them, in a million little ways.
This doesn't seem like it would produce much in the way of results.
It's working for you. What, is every follower of yours a giant who does all things and knows your every move? Not your team of doers. I mean, the people gathering. Is that normal because it's religious? Seems like that should make it weirder.
I think the whole thing sounds like a scam.
So feel free to complain every time I point you to a hand up, because you'll still take it, right? Right, you will.
Are you just about pranks and revenge? Or is there more to it?
Well, it's a weave, right? I grease the ballroom, so a wyvern chasing Git has to hunt Sprained. Strangely, handmaids leave his vault open. His heirlooms pay off someone else. Maybe clean streets in Kirkwall so someone gets something else. Pish, pish, pish. A lot of people eventually get help or a laugh. Or maybe someone dead, if they deserve it.
So, you're vandals, thieves, and murderers.
If the marks are right, Arth, yeah. But maybe pantsing and clearing his vault do the trick. Embarrassed, the same as dead for some of them. Besides, assassin's a bard's job. No fun, that lot. They might plonk a noble, right? But only to raise another. Plus, I'm shy at singing.
I think something else about Sera that bothers me is that, one, she's a prankster. I'm not fond of pranksters in general. I'm not fond of pranks themselves in general. I have, well, this is now kind of getting into more personal territory, but let's just say that I have been on the receiving end of pranks on more than one occasion growing up. and it's not a pleasant experience. I'll put it that way. And I get so sick and tired of people defending it by saying, oh, it's just a prank, as if that somehow is supposed to make it better. And yet I have seen far too many times where a prank does more harm than good. And you may do a prank to make yourself laugh and chuckle, but the person on the receiving end is not laughing and chuckling. In fact, it probably does far more harm than you realize. After all, another game that came out that I have yet to do a playthrough on, but I've thought about it, even though, one, it requires very delicate motion controls, which, with my setup, is probably not the best thing to do. What is with this lady trying to just walk right between us? How rude. Anyway, I believe the game is called Until Dawn. It's the horror game on PlayStation that basically, was utilizing the special motion control of the PS4 controller as part of the game's mechanics, which I thought was really cool. I'm just not sure if I can actually pull it off. But anyways, this is the beginning of the game, so this is not really a spoiler for that game. But the game basically starts off with a prank. An actual prank humiliating and embarrassing somebody, which leads to her death. Actually, no, I take that back. It doesn't lead to her death. It leads to her sister's death. But the fate of the person who was on the receiving end of that prank, their fate is probably worse than death in that game. I'm not going to say what it is, but it's pretty horrible. And it all happened. The entire reason that happened, the story of that game happened, was because of a prank. And it's something that has resonated with me and stuck with me for like a long time, ever since that game came out, because I've also seen that happen in real life. Not to that extreme of an extent, but like I said, being on the receiving end of pranks like that is a horrible experience. And I think it's a step further with Sera, because she's not just a prankster. She's also a prankster who has no problem murdering people, because, as she puts it, either they are a rich snob or arse, as she puts it, that would deserve it. And I think there's something about that bothers me. That she thinks it's okay to murder someone if they are rich, or a snob, or a jerk. And yeah, I'm not okay with that. You know, like, if that person that she killed when we met her, if we found out that he was, say, like abusing his servants, or beating people, or torturing people, or, something really horrible, then I would be like, yeah, okay, sure, And that's usually can be the case in fictional settings like these, and games like these, because usually in stories like that, we see someone that horrible, we'll be like, yeah, sure, have them get killed off. Trust me, like, and just an example, in Game of Thrones, when you see someone really horrible, like, oh, I don't know, Joffrey or Ramsay Bolton, you want them to get what's coming to them. So, if this was that kind of situation, I'd be like, okay, I'd probably be, if Sera only wanted to go after people who were, say, like Ramsay, then I would be totally behind her in that regard. But she's not. It's not like that. And that doesn't sit well with me. But I think it's the fact that she's a prankster, and I'm not fond of pranksters in general. But again, that's going a little too personal.
Is Red Jenny real? Or was she always just you and your friends?
Dunno.
Don't you care?
Not if it works. I mean, Red is scary because blood. And Jenny is... Look, nobody fears the bunch of people who do random stuff. And besides, it's easy. Nobles want a bogeyman because they need to believe normal people can't get at them. Numbers, yeah? An even spread is all it takes.
It seems like it should be more complicated than that.
That's why you be bad at it and why I'm here. You don't want to play, don't play. That's simple too.
We'll talk another time.
It's all good, innit?
No, it's not, Sera. Your personality in general just really irritates me.
May God be with you.
If she didn't have extra, like, worthwhile story content, I would have just been like, nope, leave. Get out of here. I don't want you here.
It's good you've returned. We heard of your encounter.
You heard?
My agents in the city sent word ahead, of course.
It's a shame the Templars have abandoned their senses, as well as the capital.
At least we know how to approach the mages and Templars now.
Do we? Lord Seeker Lucius is not the man I remember.
True, he has taken the orders somewhere, but to do what? My reports have been very odd.
We must look into it. I'm certain not everyone in the Order will support the Lord Seeker.
Or the Herald could simply go to meet the mages in Redcliffe instead.
You think the Mage Rebellion is more united? It could be 10 times worse.
I think the Templars are worth investigating.
I agree. What could the Lord Seeker be up to?
We shouldn't discount Redcliffe. The mages may be worth the risk.
They are powerful, Ambassador, but more desperate than you realize.
So it'll be dangerous. I've been in danger since I walked out of the Fade.
If some among the rebel mages were responsible for what happened at the Conclave...
The same could be said about the Templars.
True enough. Right now, I'm not certain we have enough influence to approach the Order safely.
Then the Inquisition needs agents in more places. That's something you can help with.
In the meantime, we should consider other options. There is one other matter. Several months ago, the Grey Wardens of Ferelden vanished. I sent word to those in Orlais, but they have also disappeared. Ordinarily, I wouldn't even consider the idea they're involved in all this, but the timing is curious.
That does sound odd, I agree.
The others have disregarded my suspicion, but I cannot ignore it. 2 days ago, my agents in the hinterlands heard news of a Grey Warden by the name of Blackwall. If you have the opportunity, please seek him out. Perhaps he can put my mind at ease.
And if he can't?
Then there may be more going on than we thought.
There's a messenger here.
Excuse me. We've got a message for the Inquisition, but I'm having a hard time getting anyone to talk to me.
Who are you, soldier?
Cremisius Aclasi with the Bulls Chargers Mercenary Company. We mostly work out of Orlais and Navarra. We've got word of some Tevinter mercenaries gathering out on the Storm Coast. My company commander, Iron Bull, offers the information free of charge. If you'd like to see what the Bulls Chargers can do for the Inquisition, meet us there and watch us work.
What should I know about your commander?
Iron Bull? He's a Canary like you. He's big, he's got the horns and all of it. He leads from the front. He pays well, and he's a lot smarter than the last bastard I worked for. Best of all, he's professional. We accept contracts with whoever makes the first real offer. You're the first time he's gone out of his way to pick a side.
Why did your commander send us this information?
Iron Bull wants to work for the Inquisition. He thinks you're doing good work.
What can your Bull's Chargers offer the Inquisition?
We're loyal, we're tough, and we don't break contracts. Ask around Val Royeaux. We've got references. You lead a company yourself, right? So you know talk is cheap. Come to the Storm Coast and you can see us in action.
I look forward to meeting this Iron Bull.
We're the best you'll find. Come to the Storm Coast and you can see us in action.
Before we do that, though, let's talk with Vivienne.
You've never been to a circle, as far as I can tell, yet you're remarkably skilled. Were you self-taught?
Another Talvashah Cerebos trained me.
I had heard that magic practiced by the Kunari in Talvashoth was formidable, but I never had the chance to observe it myself. In my own experience, nothing is more deadly to a young mage than a lack of knowledge, which makes the current state of things
precarious. What do you imagine will happen if the circles are not restored? Do you foresee the Dalish taking us all under their wing?
If you're wondering, yes, Vivienne is looks a little different. I did find another complexion mod for her as well. That's why her face looks a little different. So now this is, of course, one of the big things that she always brings up, which, of course, becomes a big, like, how would I answer this very complicated question? Well, the way she says it is kind of simple, but yet it's a very complicated topic, obviously. And she's asking someone, and again, she notices there, recognizes that we are a Kunari mage, therefore, obviously we would not have been in a circle. And it makes sense that another Sera boss would have helped teach her.
The war benefits no one. It must end, and order must be restored.
If only the rebels saw things so clearly. Justinia's death has shattered the balance of power in Thedas. If it is not restored quickly, countless lives will be lost. Mages, Templars, innocent people of all kinds now look to the Inquisition to decide their fate.
I'll try not to let them down.
Failure is a luxury we cannot afford, my dear. For almost 1,000 years, the world believed it was in the hands of the Maker. And now many believe you are the agent of his will. Whatever the truth is, that belief gives you power.
If that's true, then I'll put it to good use.
I suppose we'll see. I've stolen enough of your time, my dear. Don't let me keep you. Yes?
I'd like to know more about you, Madame Vivienne.
Whatever would you like to know?
Your accent's not Orlesian. Where exactly are you from?
I am from the Circle, my dear. One's country of origin rarely matters there. But if you must know, I was born in Wycombe in the Free Marches. I was sent to the Ostwick Circle, but I transferred to Monsignor while still an apprentice.
I'm curious how a circle mage winds up a courtier.
Nobody winds up at court, my dear. It takes a great deal of effort to arrive there. I caught the eye of Duke Bastien de Ghislaine, an advantageous connection that opened many doors. When the position of Enchanter to the Imperial Court became vacant, I was able to secure it.
What duties does a court enchanter have?
I am tasked with providing assistance to the Empress on arcane matters. Most of my predecessors restricted this to lighting lamps and doing parlor tricks. In such troubled times as these, however, I provide political advice to Her Majesty on the subject of the Mage Rebellion.
You're married to the Duke de Ghislaine?
Of course not, my dear. Don't be ridiculous. Marriage is the business of alliance and inheritance. I'm Bastien's mistress.
And what does the Duchess de Ghislaine think of this arrangement?
We got along quite well. Duchess Nicoline and I used to host musical salons together. She was a great patron of the arts. She passed away from a fever a few years ago, the poor dear. Yes?
I wanted to ask you about the Circle of Magi.
Of course. What do you wish to know?
If the Circle disbanded, how can you still belong to it?
The Circle is an idea, my dear. And an idea cannot be dissolved. Many of the first enchanters voted for rebellion, caring little that anything short of a unanimous decision would pit mage against mage. Rather than dissolving it, Grand Enchanter Fiona's vote split the Circle in two. The rebels follow her, the loyalists follow me.
If you lead all the loyalists, why are you only First Enchanter and not Grand Enchanter?
Grand Enchanters are elected, and since there are no First Enchanters besides myself, no vote can be held. I could name myself Grand Enchanter, but the title holds no meaning now. When the circles are restored, that will change.
What was it like to live in a circle?
My dear, your question is the root of all problems with mages. I cannot tell you. Every circle was different. Their Templars were different, their politics unique. And every person within each tower had an experience of circle life unique to themselves. Some people suffered and some were content. Some were cruel, some compassionate, and some indifferent. The same is true of people everywhere, in all circumstances, whether they are mages or not.
So tell me about your personal experience with the Circle.
I enjoyed life in the Montsimard Circle, my dear. It was an edifice devoted to knowledge and refinement. And there is comfort to be had, you know, in the company of fellow mages. Those born without magic will never truly understand us.
You must have been under constant supervision, being forced by Templars to live in the tower. Was that hard to endure?
My dear, I have a suite in the palace and a wing at my dear Duke Bastien's estate. I've never been forced to live anywhere. Most circles allowed mages to live away from the tower, either on their own or in service to the nobility. All that was required was permission from the first enchanter. Some circles were harsher in their restrictions. Kirkwall was the worst, but it was the exception. Most were quite permissive, perhaps too permissive in retrospect.
How did we come to this state with the circles in revolt?
A failure of perspective that infected circle leadership. Mages lived solely in a world of Templars and mages. They could not even imagine what was beyond the tower walls. Kirkwall gave the world a reason to remember its fear of magic. A mage killed hundreds with a snap of their fingers. Across Thedas, a new tangible fear of magic grew. Commoners and nobles alike called out to the Chantry for protection. But the malcontents in the towers thought nothing of this. They cared only for themselves and for their anger at the new Templar restrictions. When a mage attempted to assassinate Divine Justinia, again, the mages protested the investigation. The leadership chose to vote on independence based on the intolerable conditions imposed by the Templars, sparing no thought to the fact that magic was more feared in the aftermath of these attacks than it had been since Tevinter's day. So long as they had their freedom, they could care little for riots, angry mobs, or about pitting mages against each other.
Are you familiar with Grand Enchanter Fiona?
We've met. Before her horrendously ill-timed and selfish vote for independence, I thought her adequate at her job. In her dotage, she could not handle looking after the well-being of so many people. We would have done better to replace her years ago, to let her spend time gardening.
Did they have cause to rebel?
In the aftermath of their terrorist attacks? Was that really the most opportune time to break away? By all means, protest abuses by the Templars. Just don't do it in a way that says mages support wholesale murder. By voting when they did, my colleagues all but declared war upon the ordinary people of Thedas. A war in which we are outnumbered 100 to 1.
I thought the fighting was only between mages and Templars. Why are mages fighting mages?
The vote for independence was carried by only a small margin, but Fiona chose to let the motion stand. Those who opposed a rash declaration of war against the entire free world had little choice. By breaking from the Chantry when they did, the rebels declared themselves in support of mass murder. Anyone who did not wish to support terrorism and the slaughter of innocents was forced to take arms against the rebels.
Remember, Sera said that Vivienne was a... Well, you heard what she called her. I don't agree. I think, like I said, Vivienne is a mixed bag for me. There are things about I don't entirely agree with her on some of these issues, but I also understand where she's coming from. And I can empathize with her, especially on that point about, not wanting mages to all of a sudden become in favor of mass murder and basically being the enemy of the innocent civilians of Thedas. So in that regard, I can absolutely sympathize with Vivienne in there, and I just don't agree with Sera that that's what she is. Vivienne can be strict and serious, but she also has a good heart. I think, as we learned about that arrangement she has with the Duke, and she does care a great deal for the Duke, but she also cared a great deal for his wife, and they were good friends, and she was very sad when she passed away. You know, there's good to Vivienne. And so, the fact that Sera sees her that way, but then again, remember, Vivienne is also at this point, because she is the grand enchanter of the Imperial Court, Sera probably would see her as another rich noble in Orlais, which I'm sure if Sera had her way, she'd want to just go ahead and murder everybody in Orlais in that regard. But anyways.
Yes?
Is there anything I can do to help your efforts at restoring the Circle?
After the Circles fell, their libraries were plundered by scavengers. 1,000 years of recorded knowledge in the hands of bandits. It makes me sick to think of it. I've received news that some tomes have been located, if you are interested in righting this wrong.
I'll look into it for you.
If you can take care of this matter, the Circle would be in your debt.
With passionate
Thank you for
breath
all that
does
you
the
are doing.
darkness creep. It is the whisper in the night, the lie upon your sleep.
Alright, so let's go meet this actually, you know what? We're gonna hold off on that until the next part. When we return, we will be heading to the Storm Coast to meet this Iron Bull. Stay tuned.
You were saying something about